Men, what obvious hints have you missed from a woman? I'll start. If I had a nickel for every time I misunderstood my vibrator has run out of batteries, I would have 2 nickels, but it's weird that I let that happen twice. Story 1. All right, boys, get ready to hand me the most clueless trophy. When I was like 19, me and my female friend decided to go to a concert of a metal band we both liked in another city. We rented an apartment to stay in, and after the concert, we went out for a few drinks and went back into the apartment to crash. She was like, "Oh, you go ahead and take the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch." I tried to object with me being a gentleman and all, but she wanted the couch. So fine, it's already late, like 2 past midnight, so I go into the bedroom and promptly fall asleep. Like an hour later, I hear a knock on the bedroom door, and it's her in her underwear, and she goes, "Hey, that couch is actually really uncomfortable. So you mind if I sleep in here?" And me, all sleepy and unaware, goes, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And then I grab my pillow and I leave the room and go sleep on the couch. Story 2. She wanted to show me how cold she was, so she grabbed my hand and put it on her nipple. I walked home that night thinking it was cool to have touched a boob. I hate me, so you don't have to. Story 3. Went to a dance with this little smoke show. I thought we were going as friends. There were after parties being held at a hotel, so we each got a room. I walked her back to hers. She asked me in for more drinks. We chatted, then she unzipped her dress, rolled over, and asked me for a back rub. She wasn't wearing any underwear or bra. What did I do? I gave her a back rub. Made no move on her at all. Thought nothing about it until 30 years later when I was like, oh, she was coming on to me. Story 4. There were a few when I was younger, but my all-time blunder was a lass that sat in my lap and cuddled up to me, saying she was cold and wanted to snuggle. I told her to move, stood up, and gave her my coat, thinking I was being a gentleman. She stropped off and said it didn't matter. I was left scratching my head like an empty-headed little chimp. Someone replied, mine was, "Can I come up and use your bathroom?" I lived above a bar, was hanging out with the bartender on her night off. We were pretty close, but I never realized she was interested in me because I'm an idiot. The bar was closing. We were the last ones there, plus the bartenders working that night. She had just used the bathroom right before she asked me. My response was, "Didn't you just go? Can't you use that bathroom if you need to go again?" She looked at me like I was the biggest moron ever. Thankfully, she followed up with something along the lines of, "I'd like to go back to your place, you idiot." Dated her for about a year after that, but apparently I missed a ton of subtle hints leading up to that night, according to her. LOL. Story 5. Cute girl when I was in high school gave me all the hints in the world, but I was completely oblivious. She sat next to me every day and would constantly laugh at the most basic things I would say. We had study hall together too, and I was a student athlete, so I typically sat by myself, away from everyone, to catch up on homework. She would sit right next to me even though all her friends were sitting together and kept telling her to come over. She would also constantly drop shit on the ground, then lean her head onto my shoulder and take a very long time to pick her shit up. Didn't realize she liked me until I was in college, and my friend that went to the same college as her mentioned to me that she would always ask about me. I wish I could say this was the only time, but I'm just a dummy and extremely oblivious. Story 6. I was super awkward when I met my now wife. I was paranoid about scaring her off. I went with a friend to a concert, and she was there, but had driven herself. After the show, she followed us back to our car. She was standing there and I said bye and jumped in the car, and she continued to stand there. My buddy said to me, "Go out there and give her a hug, she's waiting for you." So I got out of the car and hugged her for the first time. I was so scared about being too forward and scaring her off. My friend was a good wingman that day. Story 7. I have several stories. 1. A girl in high school told me I looked like Brad Pitt from Legends of the Fall. I didn't, but I didn't realize until years later, when I actually saw that movie, that she couldn't have expressed interest in me any more clearly if she'd said, "Put your dick inside me right now," because it is basically 2 hours of Brad Pitt-themed softcore porn. 2. I was backpacking around Europe in my 20s, and a female friend of mine met up with me in Venice because we both happened to be there. We got a hostel together to save money, and when we showed up, the room only had one bed. I was a bit flustered and told her I'd ask about getting a cot or sleep on the floor, and she said, no, that's okay. And then she came out of the shower wearing just a towel that night. I still didn't get it. 3, another female friend of mine invited herself over to my place to watch a movie and then told me she was feeling kind of horny since her boyfriend had dumped her as we were watching. Unfortunately, the movie was The Fellowship of the Ring, and I was too engrossed to realize what she was getting at and just said, wow, that sucks, or something of the sort. In short, I am a moron when it comes to women and have blown many, many chances in my life. Thankfully, I've gotten better at this over the years and don't miss hints like I used to. Story 8. This was 15 years ago, back when my friend and I were 18. She and I sat on a picnic bench in a park at night after a lovely long walk together in the height of summer. I was sat on it properly. She was sat on the table bit with her legs on the seat, her in a summer dress. I'm cold. Me starts rubbing her inner and outer thighs completely innocently, as that's where I can reach. I can warm you up. Her whispers excitedly. What would people think if they could see what we're doing right now? Me completely missing what she meant. Oh, good point. Sorry. I stopped, and not long after that, I walked her home. Then on my way home, felt really happy having been a good friend, not realizing I'd completely missed an opportunity to have fun with a friend who I later learned was very much up for it. Story 9. One girl asked me to go to homecoming with her. I thought she just asked to go as friends, so I said I'm going to ask this other girl, and if she said no, I'll go with her. She told me she actually liked me at that time a few years later. One girl came to talk to me during class and sat in my lap for like a few minutes, and I was still wondering if she liked me. Invited a girl over to watch Lost because she owned a DVD set. A couple of episodes in, she asked if I wanted to do something else. I said, this is so good, let's just keep watching. One girl told me she used to fantasize about me when she masturbated, and I just reacted with a what? No way, really? All happened during high school years. I was so clueless, LOL. Story 10. In high school, this girl was literally hugging me. She also went out of her way to hang out with me on her free period. I wasn't uncomfortable with it and had actually developed a crush on her, but I was very emotionally confused at the time. I had crippling anxiety, was fucked up on meds, and was grieving my sister. Somehow, we're still good friends today. I think she understood I was going through some shit. Another touchy girl came along, and I fumbled her as well. I had a lot of regret and self-hatred for a while because of these embarrassing moments, but learned to forgive myself after a near-death experience. I know most people want to hear some funny story, so thank you to whoever read this. Story 11. Oh man. In my Navy days, I was in Dubai with like a dozen other guys out on Liberty. We popped into the biggest mall in the world, and someone wanted to dip into this full-size piano bar. I'm feeling generous and go to buy the first round of beers. Out the corner of my eye, there's this knockout of a girl in an ivory dress, matching heels dangling off her toes, holding a flute of champagne with a soul strawberry floating in it. I turn, notice she is staring a hole through the side of my head, nod to her, and go back to waiting for my beers, only to do the most legit double take of my life. She was extremely amused, ear-to-ear grin, and gave me a thick Aussie, "You're not from around here," and well, no, I'm not, yada yada. She says she's the CEO of a company amongst a couple of other jobs in town on business and wanted me to come back to her hotel. Point blank. I guess she wasn't into the locals. Anyway, it's a holy sin to leave your Liberty buddies in the Navy. Leave together, return together, although I was sorely tempted. She even offered to meet up with me at some safari thing. MWR was sponsoring it, but you needed to have booked it in advance. Best I could do was get her email and ended up never following up with her. I didn't think it was going to amount to anything. Story 12. I was 19 years old and I went on a cabin weekend with some coworkers. Everyone was getting drunk, and I decided I didn't want to be involved with their shenanigans. I got everyone to bed and went into my room, which I was sharing with my, at the time, boss. She hadn't drank a lot and we talked for a while before going to our separate beds. I don't know how much time had passed, but the next thing I knew, my bed rocked. I turned over and saw it was her. I asked, "What's wrong?" She said, "It's me. I'm cold." I noticed she wasn't wearing her sweatpants anymore. and instead she was just in her underwear. I wrapped her up in my blanket and covered her feet and let her know she was welcome to stay in my bed. Then I rolled over and cuddled the wall. The next day, she told me that she'd never been rejected like that before. It finally clicked what she was actually doing. I followed through on the second attempt, though. Story 13. In 2021, when I was 22, I had lost a shitload of weight and put on some muscle cause COVID made me start working out since I had nothing better to do. I was never used to getting much attention from females in high school as I was very overweight. Anyways, one day I was at a CD exchange store and I was buying some movies. Yay, still collect physical media. I go up to the counter and there is a very beautiful girl there. And we get to talking about the movies I bought, and then she asked what I was doing that day. I said, nothing probably, just going home to watch movies. She then responds with, cool, I get off in about 35 minutes and I have nothing to do today either. I responds with, okay, well have a good day. And I paid and left and never saw her again. I asked my female best friend if she was trying to flirt, and she said I'm literally too dumb to notice a dead giveaway flirtation. Story 14. And in high school, I invited a girl I worked with to homecoming. We had been flirting hardcore at work for a while, and things were getting pretty hot and heavy during the dance. Yes, I was a disgusting teenager. After a while of this, she says to me that she needs to leave because her dad is picking her up. She asked if I could go wait with her by my car. The school had a policy that once you leave the dance, you can't re-enter. I explain this and start to describe the door code to unlock my car, 95 Ford Taurus, total babe magnet. She keeps getting confused about how to unlock my car, and eventually I write it down on paper. She leaves. My friends and I got super upset because we thought she basically ditched me. Turns out she sat in my car for the rest of the dance, and as we all leave at the end, discover her sitting in my car. I only realized a few days later that she wanted to take things to the next level in my car. Story 15. Back in high school, a girl asked me to drive her home. The whole time she's telling me about how her parents wouldn't be home until very late that night and she'd be by herself. We pull up to her driveway and she says it again with a look on her face. I said, haha, yeah, I'd be playing video games or something. She looked disappointed and said, okay, well, I'll see you later, and walked in. Later that evening, I was watching TV and it hit me all at once. I genuinely did not get why she had been telling me that she'd be alone all evening until that moment. Never got another chance with her again. Oh well. Story 16. In college, had a couple women bring up previous instances where W are alone together, and they said something like, I totally thought about kissing you. Did not realize that I should have said, how about we kiss right now then? Instead, my response each time was something along the lines of, well, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing. Story 17. I am a shy and quiet person, so the story is still going. Even though I am good looking, I feel anxious approaching girls that I don't know. At college, it happened twice. A girl from my class was so beautiful, probably still one of the most beautiful girls I have ever met. First time we ever talked, I was walking alone on my way to uni when she caught me, and we walked and talked for a moment. Those 10 minutes we walked are one of the best souvenirs I have. We talked occasionally at university afterwards. She was giving me hints, clear hints, that I deliberately ignored because I was dumb and I was too anxious and clumsy around her. Time goes by. A pretty colleague, she is pretty, we work in different departments, but we chat often because we go to the same gym. Again, she was giving me hints like that, romantic eye contact. I was intending to approach her, but both of us, always surrounded by colleagues, it was hard for me. At the gym still, some colleagues were there. Now I managed to get over my anxiety and I am dating a beautiful girl. But there is one advice I would give you, don't miss the chance. I was anxious to approach girls that I had a crush on, or girls that gave me hints. I was always sabotaging myself by the fear of rejection. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a suit or covered in dirt, if you have a fresh haircut or just a caveman hairstyle, go talk to her. Story 18 on, I dated a girl in high school for 6 months at 16. Pretty PG-13. We eventually broke up, but she was awesome. Senior year, I broke up with a different girl, and the first girl we became friends again. She asked me quite a few times if I regretted not having sex when we were together. I laughed and said no. It escalated. I remember it vividly. She made the comment twice in the month leading up to graduation. It's really weird that we will both go to college as virgins. I said I agree. Whoosh. About midsummer, I woke up one day and realized this was automatic. What a dummy am I? I messaged her and let her know my parents will be out of town this weekend, and if she didn't want that thing to happen, she mentioned before graduation and was serious to come over that weekend. She said she'd need to think about and check if she had plans. About 6 minutes later, she told me she'd be over after lunch on Saturday, and that's the story of how I lost my virginity. Story 19. Was chatting to a girl online during a Friday night while she was at a party, and she was telling me about how she won a game where you have to bend over and pick a piece of paper off the ground with your mouth, but without using your hands or touching the floor with your hands. I ended up getting the hint a few weeks later when she climbed into the same booth as me at a pool bar, straddled me and said, "Do I need to bite you to get a fucking reaction out of you?" Then bit me on the neck. Story 20. College. All different girls during daytime. No alcohol involved. Sometimes in front of other people, other times alone. "Can I touch your pecs? You are really good looking. You're so strong, hot." Straight up grabbing my ass. Multiple times, different girls. In Q's ECT. Hugging me at every single opportunity during a week. Multiple times a day. Girl I used to talk to but didn't see for a couple months straight up saying hi and kissing my neck. "Want to go somewhere after classes?" Calling me on WhatsApp to sell something worth $20, supplement I believe, because she didn't need it at that moment. Still not sure this one was trying to start a conversation to flirt, but I see no reason someone would do this as it was out of the blue. We never talked about anything similar before. I am the king of missed hints. I thought they were all just being friendly. As a result, I couldn't get a serious girl until my late 20s. If you like stories like these, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. Please help me reach my goal of 1,000 subs so we can continue to build our community. If you have any opinions on these stories, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to hear from you all soon.